Hello, welcome back. This is part two of Eco 501, sections one and two. In this part, we're going to look at part two that we discussed in the last part. That what is a production function actually, and we're also going to look at what production functions look like when we're looking at in graphs. So we introduced short run, long run, etc., fixed capacity, etc. Now, what is a production function? The moment we're using the word function, we are indirectly establishing a relationship between a dependent variable and an independent variable. The independent variable changes first, dependent variable changes after, and because of the independent variable. But when we're looking at production function, we're also indicating it as an output function. In the last part, we said that production and output, these two terms are going to be used synonymously. So when we say production function, we are also indicating an output function. Okay. Now, production function relates maximum feasible quantity of output that can be produced with a given amount of various inputs. So if we have 5 units of labor, 10 units of capital, these are the given amount of various inputs that we have. What is the maximum level of output that we can produce? Now, if this is a short run function, the 10 units of capital will remain unchanged. Instead of 5 units of labor, next time we can use 7 units of labor or 3 units of labor. But given this particular combination, okay, what is the maximum amount of output that can be produced? And function, it's a relationship between dependent and independent variable. So we can also look at it like this. Because of inputs, thus output. What is given input? Given means something that is given. We take it for granted that this is what it is. So the same combination of inputs give different outputs under different environments. What do we understand by maximal feasible quantity? The objective is definitely when we are producing output, given what the inputs are, we want the maximum amount of output because output gives us satisfaction or happiness. And then we can express it like this. Output is a function of labor and capital. Output is also a function of labor and capital over here. Okay, this is a special type of production function which we call Cobb-Douglas production function after Mr. Cobb and Mr. Douglas. And look, on the left-hand side, like any functional relationship, output is dependent. On the right-hand side, like any functional relationship, labor and capital, the two inputs are independent. They change first because they change, and after them, output changes. So we have our independent and dependent variable relationship. This thing we can express in terms of a graph, in terms of a spreadsheet, or even in terms of a table. Now, let us look at this table, table 7.2. Okay, we have production function with one variable input. Now, when we say we have a production function with one variable input, excuse me, capital is fixed. When we say capital is fixed for different amounts of labor, we are implicitly implying that we are looking at a short-run production function. In this production table, in column 1, we have labor inputs. And labor inputs are, they vary from 0 units to 10 units. In column 2, we have total product. Column 3, we have marginal product. We'll discuss this in the next slide. Column 4, we have average product. Column 5, we have production elasticity, but we are not interested in this. So if you want, you can omit the column 5. Pattern that we want to observe is, why is it that input is initially more productive? Sorry, the output. Why is it that output is initially more productive, then gradually becomes less productive? This is a pattern that we're going to observe, okay, in the next slide. And why could this be possible? Is there a strong economic logic behind it, or it just happens? So we'll go to the next slide. As labor increases unit by unit, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, etc., what is happening in column 2? Total output or total product, because we said product and output are synonymous, increases. That makes sense. Capital is fixed, the capacity of the firm is fixed. So the more labor that we employ, the more output we will get. Okay. Marginal product, we are looking at marginal product unit wise. So from 0 to 1, how much is the increment? 6 units. From 1 to 2 units of labor, how much is the increment? It's 10 units. From 2 to 3 units of labor, it's 13 units, 15 units. Then slowly it gradually falls until at 9 and 10 units, production activity is totally counterproductive. And one thing that we observe here is, when marginal increases, average increases. Up until 4 units, marginal productivity is increasing. That means the average is also increasing. In the last class, we established that marginal change happens first. After marginal change, the average change happens. So if marginal output is increasing, average output is also increasing. But any economic activity has an upper limit. After some time, if we carry on increasing the amount of labor, marginal will start to fall. Our per unit or incremental unit benefits will start to fall. What does that mean? That means that uh, our average productivity will also fall. Initially, the more labor we give, the more output we are getting unit wise. This has an upper limit. What happens in the upper limit? After some time, productivity starts to fall. So can you visualize an inverted U, upside down U? Initially, marginal productivity increasing, reaches a peak, then starts to fall. Average productivity will do the same thing, but there will be one important distinction which we'll look at when we get to the graphs. Now, diminishing returns is something that is applicable for all types of human activity. If the capacity of the firm is fixed, then after some time, you know, we will definitely start to become less and less productive. We have discussed this in the last week and also the previous week, that in the morning we are more productive. If we don't take rest throughout the whole day, then as the day proceeds, we become less and less productive. So you see, in the morning we're productive, and slowly we become less and less productive. Because initial units of labor tend to be more productive. Why? If we are a rational business person, a rational entrepreneur, the initial labors will definitely be the ones that are more efficient. So those are the ones that we are going to send for production purpose. Plus, in the next lot is not going to be as efficient as the previous one. So what happens? Well, so slowly, after some time, productivity per unit wise starts to fall. This is known as the diminishing or diminishing marginal returns. Now, because of this, what will the shape of the production firm look like? Initially, units of labor more productive, curve rising. Reaches a peak, then starts to fall. So what happens? We get an inverted U. Now, Now we are doing part 3, that we wanted to show in part 3 what various production functions look like. So you see, this is the total product curve, the total output curve. This is the marginal product curve. This is the average product curve. All production functions by definition have to be an inverted U. Initially they are productive, slowly they become less productive. So whether we are talking about the total product curve, marginal product curve, or the average product curve, they are all inverted U's. Now, what is the difference between marginal product and average product, or marginal output and average output? Marginal product, the analogy is your GPA in a particular semester. So how productive are you between unit number 2 and unit number 3? Now, whatever your level of output productivity is between unit 2 and unit 3, that means the third unit, that will influence your average output. Okay, so we come back again. Marginal is your GPA, and average is your CGPA. So when marginal increases, average must increase. When GPA increases, CGPA must increase. This brings us, excuse me again, to another interesting phenomenon in production behavior, that this is 7.4, page 244. Initially, we enjoy increasing returns. Why? These are the benefits of specialization. Why? Because we said in an if I'm organizing labor in order to produce something, I will definitely bring the best labor that I have to produce the initial units. Then I want to produce more. So what happens? I slowly get to lose that effect of specialization. Now look, this is the benefits of specialization. That's why the total curve is becoming steeper as we look from left to right up to 4 units. So marginal productivity is increasing. Okay, that means average productivity will also increase. But this increment is up to this point. Okay, after this, what happens? Marginal productivity slowly starts to diminish because of diminishing returns. And then average productivity also starts to diminish. Now, there is a gap between the marginal peak and the average peak. Why? Marginal will peak first, average will peak later in the next unit. We also gave this analogy in the last class that we first find out or calculate our GPA, our performance in a particular semester. Once we have that, then we can say that our average here has peaked. Now, after that, what happens? Margin is falling, average is also falling. Okay. What is negative returns? What is negative returns? Negative returns was this part in the graph. 8 units of labor is the maximum amount of labor that we can use. After that, any type of production activity with more labor becomes counterproductive. That does not add to the total output, it reduces it. This is what happens over here. So this will start to fall and this will start to fall. That means average output will total output will then reduce. So what we wanted to show was that production functions are basically inverted U-shaped. Initially, the production functions benefit from specialization. They reach a peak and then they start to fall due to diminishing returns. They keep on falling and there is an upper limit. If we carry on increasing the amount of labor in order to increase output, then it will be counterproductive. From 8 to 9 units, our total output is falling from 9 to 10 units, total output is falling again as well. Okay, so that brings to us the end of this part. In the next part, we'll look at cost analysis. Thank you.